So in front of me, I've got Husqvarna's brand new 564XP chainsaw, their first fuel injected saw to come to market. So the big question is, what is going on under the covers and how does it actually work? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. We're going to fully strip down this machine and actually see what features and benefits and designs Husqvarna have adopted on this chainsaw, which is probably the most anticipated chainsaw to come out in 2025. Okay, before we take the covers off, first things first, fuel injection. What is it and what does it do and how does it benefit the user? Well, fuel injection basically is a way of removing a standard carburetor off of a chainsaw and putting an injector in, which basically precisely puts pressured fuel into your cylinder. So that increases efficiency, it increases throttle response, obviously reduces the weight as well because obviously you've got less componentry, but also all in all gives you a better performance and better fuel efficiency. This then leads on to the fact that Husqvarna state that this saw has 4 times higher resolution for fuel delivery, so it will adjust the surroundings better. It will have increased power and torque compared to that of a 60cc conventional 2-stroke chainsaw. Now, Husqvarna have developed the 564 to fit within their 60cc chainsaw category, but what makes this a little bit different is they've designed it in a way that makes it very compact, gives you the feel and the maneuverability of a 50cc, but the impression and performance of a 70cc. Now, even though we're not going to be doing any cutting in this video, I think it's important to find out the fundamentals and the build quality of this chainsaw. So let's get underneath the covers and see what's going on. Now, there is a lot of exciting stuff going on underneath here, but let's start on the outside and work our way in. So, starting off with the fuel tank, they have put the flip-up caps that we all know and love on this chainsaw. Doesn't get any easier filling it up with those caps. Next new addition is this 2K fuel sight window, so you can physically see how much fuel you got in your tank while you're using the chainsaw. Now, inside the tank, they've actually fitted a magnetic fuel filter, which is something you'll see quite a lot of the time on disc cutters. So this will pick up any metal particles that may sort of be ingressed within the fuel delivery system. So you've still got a standard fuel primer like you'll see on most saws these days to make it obviously easier to start. But if I flip it on the side, you'll see there's no real choke lever. There's just an on-off switch. So because it's fuel injected, obviously you don't need it on choke because it gives you the right amount of fuel delivery to the cylinder on cold and hot start. So obviously then means that it makes it a lot easier to start and stop the engine, so you don't have those issues with cold or hot starting where you don't know if you should have to put it on half choke or full choke or no choke at all. So this saw's got the low vibe set up, so the anti-vibration elements there, which look very easy to get to and to replace, and we'll see more of those as we take it apart. So we've got a nice slimline body, and as you can see, Husqvarna have fitted their magnesium crankcase like they do to all the professional saws. On the front end, you've got an upgraded muffler, which is meant to be lighter weight. You've got one set of dogging teeth there on the side, and then if we spin it around, on the clutch cover side, we've got 2 captive nuts. We've obviously got the adjustment for the chain on the side as well, and because this is the XPG model with the heated handles, we have got that additional flick up switch there to turn handles on and off, and I'm presuming handles will be warmed here as well as the wrap handle on the top. And underneath the body of the machine, obviously it's easy to get to the adjuster for the flow rate for the oil. Now, guy bar wise, 15 to 28 inch is the recommended sizes to be run on this chainsaw, with Husqvarna UK offering 18 and 20 inch as options when you purchase the saw from new. Now, chain wise is running a C85 X-Cut chain, which is a 1.5mm 3/8 gauge, which is Husqvarna's own chain. Now, Husqvarna have adopted their X-Tough light guy bars to these saws, so it's got a removable sprocket, it's laminated, and it means it's also fitted on large bar mounts, so it means you can incorporate a larger guy bar if you need it. And moving back up to the top of the saw, as you can see, we've got these raised felling sights, and we've got the 3 snap lock cover clips, which we just unclip like so, which then gives us access to the engine. I tell you what, that's proper interesting. I thought there was going to be a lot more going on in there, but actually it looks very simple. And from a servicing point of view, I was never that enthused by having to take apart an XP chainsaw in the past. There was always a lot of wires and a lot of sort of fiddly bits with screwdrivers to get things unclipped, but this looks a lot different. The air filter for a 1 is a lot smaller. I'm gonna have to put my screwdriver in there to undo that. This looks like it's washable. so you can wash that out, reuse it. And then the fuel injection body obviously is a lot smaller than a standard carburettor. So just looking at the fuel pipes, obviously you've got fuel pipes coming from the purge there. We got an inlet and a return that's going back through. Electronic wise, we've got the electronic connectivity lead just there to plug it into the laptop to do any servicing or any diagnostics. So I'm just going to pop off all the pipes and all the leads a second, and then we'll take the injector body off and take a look at that. So we've still got a cable system like we do on the other XP saws, which is operating the throttle butterfly. So just taking it apart in stages, the first thing we've taken off is this simple throttle body. So I need a little tacker of a screwdriver to get this bit out. So the throttle body was obviously coming out first. Now we've got the fuel injection system, which was connected up, a little electronic connector there, into a bank of electronic sockets. And then obviously your injection, or your injector itself, is under here. And if you see there, that's where the nozzle comes out the end for your spray pattern. So I would have thought with this, obviously there's no diaphragms on it. So from a standard sort of chainsaw servicing and engineering background, there's not really that much to go wrong, other than obviously keeping that all clean in there and obviously your spray patterns and stuff. Interesting. So taking a look at some of the electronics and the wiring we got, I'm presuming the black and red wire here on this first socket is something to do with our heated handles. Moving back through, these wires go back towards the flywheel, so it must be something to do with the timing, the ignition system, and obviously fuel injection. Obviously then we've got the fuel injection port that then goes to the injector itself. Over this side, we've then got the diagnostics, which we've already unplugged, and then we've got the earth lead, which is obviously the stop for the engine. So with all the wiring sort of disappearing down under this black cover, I think it's worth taking this off to see what's underneath. But also, look at where the HT leads to. It's on the wrong side of the engine for a conventional machine. Generally, I would normally expect the HT lead to come from here, from our recall side, where our flywheel's to. Let's take it off. Electronic module, the ignition module, is here, not there, where it should be. So what is underneath there? Exciting. So just pluck off the... Pluck off? I don't know what I'm saying. So spark plug wise, CMR 6H, used for quite some time in their pro saws. Right, recoil assembly. Right, under the cover, very little there, isn't there? So your ignition module on this chainsaw is now incorporated within the ECU. So the air injection system Husqvarna have developed on their chainsaws for several years is now improved even more, because there isn't that module now for the air to get caught up. That air is now going straight into all the vital parts, keeping everything a lot cooler, a lot cleaner, and obviously then developing the power and the injection system of this chainsaw. And that means that the flywheel then has its magnets underneath, opposed to on the outside like you would on a standard setup. With this one as well, we've obviously got that generator there underneath, which is then powering our heated handlebar setup as well. So ignition system is now hidden underneath. So it was all going very swimmingly until we got to this ball ache, and that is the anti-vibration element that we talked about at the start, because it doesn't seem any logical way of taking that off, because it's screwed onto the housing and it's screwed onto the crankcase. So the only way I can see to get it off is to take the fuel tank off and then untwist it. But it doesn't stop there. If you look at the fuel purge, the primer assembly, I have never seen a primer like that in my life. You've got an in and an out from the fuel tank. You've got an in and an out to your fuel injector, or your system up here, your fuel delivery system. But then there's a third pipe, this long one, that goes all the way to the engine, which presumably is a crankcase breather. So it is supplying or giving the air and the draw from the tank, from the pressure and the vacuum of the engine, to supply fuel into the injection system. Pretty boggling. My mind is spinning. Right, time to look under the clutch cover, see what's going on underneath there. Outboard clutch is the first thing, obviously pops out. Obviously it gives you more or better balance, better control of the chainsaw. It means the guide bar is then closer to the saw itself as well, and means that you can, or Husqvarna has been able to streamline the body of the chainsaw, so it's a lot more compact. Now I know I'm going to have comments, oh, you shouldn't use a chrome socket on an impact wrench. Well, it's the only thing I can find. And off with the drum. We have a rim sprocket, obviously 3/8 because that's what the chain is, by 7. Nice, easy to get to the oil pump. We do like that. One thing I do love about Husqvarna oil pumps is they are substantial in there. There's a lot to them. So you've got your worm gear, plastic worm gear, driving your oil pump. Right, so before we take the muffler off, I thought I'd just have a look at the heated handlebar setup and see what is going on. So wiring wise, obviously it comes up into the wrap handle like we knew of. The black and the red wires, if we follow them, they do go to the rear throttle handle as well. So it means we have got heated assembly back here, as well as the standard handle that we would obviously expect to be warmed up. 4 screws, let's take the exhaust off. Oh, that looks better. I think I'll leave that bit off. It's like 2 exhaust pipes. Bop, 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 bop. Bop, 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 bop. Like that. And off she comes. What's going to be hiding behind here? What we got inside there then? Spin the engine over. So we've got 2 piston rings on the piston, if you can see that. Now another major development with Husqvarna's brand new engine is a short stroke length. Bit of a mouthful, but this is what happens. So if we just swing the engine over, you'll see the piston going up and down. So what this achieves is basically lower weight, makes the product more compact. You've got lower distribution forces, and the shorter stroke length as well means that the connecting rod and the crankcase is that much slimmer. So all in all, just making a better, more higher performance engine. So I think that is pretty much everything stripped apart that we need to have a look at for today. The rest of it obviously then gets into taking the cylinder off, which I don't see the need in that. But let's put it back together and then we'll round up. And the last thing is the top cover. Luckily, we didn't have any screws left over. Snap, snap, snap. Right, so a few more things to bear in mind with this chainsaw. So weight-wise, with the heated handlebars, excluding the cutting attachment, is 5.9 kilos. With the standard 564XP, it's 5.8. Power-wise, 4 kilowatt engine, which is 5.4 horsepower. Now, if you look at the 560 and the 562 XP, both Mark II models, the newer generation, they are producing 3.5 kilowatt. But this is an interesting one, and that is chain speed. So 562 XP Mark II, that is 21.4 meters per second. The 560 Mark II is 18.5 meters per second, whereas the 564 is a little bit slower than the 562, coming in at 21.3 meters per second. So that now leads me on to the price, because if you want to own one of these puppies, the retail price on it is $13,499 inclusive of VAT, which actually is very similar to the 572, obviously being a 70cc chainsaw. But the big question is, would you rather a bigger saw or a smaller saw that's more compact and is easier to maneuver? So I always think it's pretty good to see what's under the covers and what you get for your money. So hopefully this video has been informative and you've enjoyed it. So if you did, it'd be great if you could subscribe to our channel, ding the notification bell and like this video. But I know what you all want to see, and you want to see this chainsaw in use. So I'm going to now hand it over to James in our next video to show you the 564XP in work.